Hey guys, and welcome to Stalker Week here on my channel, where each day this week we're going to take a look at a different one of Stalker's signature weapons and some suggested builds on how to get the most out of them. This means Despair, an updated Dread build, War, Broken War and Hate videos. We are starting this off though with one of his weapons that I've never actually reviewed, despite liking them a fair amount, and that is Stalker's personal throwing knives, the Despair. So how do you actually get those hands on those throwing knives? Well, unlike a lot of weapons, you can't just buy the blueprint from the market or even research it in the dojo. You need to either buy the Stalker bundle for platinum, or you need to get them to drop from the Stalker himself. Now, the best way to do this really is to run each of the bosses on the star chart, get yourself marked from death for the Stalker, then play just random missions until he shows up to kill you, defeat him and grab the loot from the floor and hope you get the weapon you're looking for. Either that, or you can get the token from Barracuda for Ducats when he comes around on a Friday, and then you can farm Stalker to your delight. So what do you get when you actually finally get a hold of these things? Well, with the base damage of 55, the majority 44 coming in the form of puncture, 8.25 as slash and 2.75 as puncture, it's joint top of the throne secondary weapons on base damage alone. The supporting stats though are not the strongest. Crit chance of just 2.5%, crit damage of 1.5 times, meaning that it can't really make use of any of those ridiculously strong pistol crit mods, and a status chance of just 2.5%, meaning that it is a pure elemental weapon. It does have a very decent accuracy though, despite a noticeable arc to the throw, meaning that it drops over distance. Couple that with a decent accuracy with a fire rate of 3.3 rounds a second, reload of just 0.8 seconds means you can put out a lot of damage really quickly. It does have a couple of downsides however, which is mainly the lack of those critical and status stats, meaning that you only really have the option for going that straight elemental build. With those 90% elemental mods, it's kind of the only realistic build for them, so there really isn't a lot of flexibility to work with. Plus, even though it does say it's got 100% accuracy, there is a slight RNG to the knives as they throw, and combine that with the travel time, does make hitting shots at the longer range a bit more difficult, and it does take some time to get used to landing shots on the target. Okay, so let's move on to starting the mod the Despair. Now it comes with 2 V polarities as standard, however we're going to add 4 former, which is going to be 1 V and 3 dashes. Now for this build we're going to go focusing very much on the pure elemental. We're going to go with Hornet Strike for damage, Barrel Diffusion for multi-shot, Lethal Torrent for extra fire rate as well as more multi-shot, Anemic Agility, which is even more fire rate but at the loss of a little bit of damage, and then Prime Pistol Ammo Mutation to just try and offset that a little bit. Now in terms of the elementals, we are going to go very much the 90% elemental routes rather than the 60s. The dual stats really are not worth it on this. As I said earlier, 2.5% status chance, you're going to get no returns on the dual stats. So dropping the elemental to try and put status on here just does not work. So for non-corrosive projection Void, non-corrosive projection Grenier, we're going to go with Pathogen Rounds Convulsion for corrosive and Param Heated Charge for heat damage. If you're going against Corrosive Projection Void or Corrosive Projection Grenier, then we'll go with Radiation and Toxin, which is also what I go against with the Corpus. Now, Corpus have got more and more robotics, which means that Radiation is a fantastic thing. And I've really gone off using Magnetic because you don't really need to deal with those shields. Just use Pathogen Rounds, use Toxin damage, you will cut straight through those shields anyway. So having the Magnetic on there just seems like you're trying to cut away, you're trying to chip away at something that doesn't really need chipping away. So this is really what I've been using for the Corpus, as well as the Corrosive Projection Void, Corrosive Projection Grenier. And if you're fighting against the Infested, you can switch things around a bit, and then you can go with the Corrosive and Heat combo once again. Now, if you're going to do only a 2 elemental combo, there is one thing you can do, which is you can put Seeker on. If you switch out Prime Heated Charge with Seeker, then that gives you punch through on every shot. Now the one thing to note is that if you're planning on using the radiation combo, you are going to need another former, which is something I will be doing after this video is out, and I will put a dash in probably and just stick an Imic agility in there, because it's something that's going to be on here no matter what. So dropping those extra points is going to help fit the prime heater charge up here. So that is definitely something I'm going to be doing. And this is sort of how I would probably mod the Despair. This is how I feel personally, and for my playstyle, how I feel it just feels best to use them. Your own playstyle might be slightly different, but hopefully this gives you a bit of an idea of how I go about modding it, and then you can sort of tailor yours to your own playstyle. So do I think that it's worth maxing out when you finally get hold of them? And yes, honestly I think that they are. These things are a lot of fun to get hold of and to use if you like the thrown secondary weapons, and until recently they were top of the tree when looking at those throwing weapons. However, they got replaced on the top of the throne not only by the Spearer Prime, but also the standard Spearer, due to the insane crit and the ridiculous effectiveness of the secondary weapon crit mods. They are still pretty damn decent weapons. Even a level 60 heavy gunner is dispatched with relative ease, and the combination of fire rate as well as ammo mutation means you can fire to your heart's content and never really worry about running out of ammo, especially if you do similar to what I do, and that is combine it with carrier, which definitely means you will never have ammo trouble whatsoever. You can just concentrate on killing. Now it's a shame that these things are so far outclassed by the Spearer series. Stalker weapons, to me, they should feel different. They should feel special. Something above the competition, since it comes from the game's most shadowy boss, and is arguably one of the harder weapons to get in the game, what with it not being tradable at all, and the RNG around actually getting it to drop in the first place. So if you're into the best in class stuff, then the Spearer Prime and the Spearer is probably more up your street. But if you went to fun throwing weapons that can hold their own even up to level 60 and above units in the void, then the Despair will absolutely do the job, and will look stylish while doing it, since it's probably my favourite looking thrown secondary as well, despite how good the Spearer Prime look. It is, however, gonna start dropping off from that sort of level onwards, to the extent where in sorties, it's gonna struggle slightly, and it's possibly, although honestly I would say probably not an ideal weapon to be taking to the sorties. This was, I believe, the first thing I ever got hold of from Stalker, which is kind of surprising, and while it's not used anywhere near as often as I think it deserves, especially by me, they are really fun weapons if you can get hold of being able to accurately land the shots, especially since you don't have insane crits to fall back on. You really need those headshot multipliers to be able to pump out that damage. They take a bit of getting used to, but they are really rewarding once you have. Now I hope you've enjoyed the first installment of Stalker Week. I would love to see your feedback and your suggestions for which video to do next in the comments below, and as always guys, I shall catch you in the next video.